If you're just tuning in to Civic Cipher, keep on riding with us as we continue to broadcast the balance and defend the discourse from these Hip Hop Weekly studios. Welcome back. I am your host, Ramses Ja. Big shout out to Q Ward, who is not in the studio today. He is tending to a family matter, but he will be back in the studio next week. Have no fear, though, because we are joined by the one and only Jacob Raiford, aka Roqy Tyraid, one of my favorite activists and a person that has gotten a lot of attention for his protests and a lot of coverage for, his capacity to galvanize a community toward a specific goal. Today we're discussing ways that communities and individuals can organize and respond to political hostilities as well as local grievances. Stick around because this part of the show, we're going to be discussing Donald Trump's recent address to Congress, so that should be interesting. But before we get there, it is time to become a better ally, Baba. And today's Baba, we want you to check out blackgirlventures.org. We do believe in girl power.
Yes.
We do believe in black girl magic.
Mm-hmm.
And around here, both Q and I say, and I'm sure you would agree, Roqy, that a black woman is as close to God as you can be on earth. Scientifically. And otherwise.
Oh, yes.
So, please hear me out. Blackgirlventures.org. At BGV, they create access to capital, capacity, and community for under-resourced entrepreneurs that enable business sustainability and create intergenerational wealth for a more equitable society. They were founded in 2016 by serial entrepreneur and computer scientist Ami Bell. They have a passion for finding solutions and the unique challenges under-resourced entrepreneurs face in accessing local and financial capital to grow their businesses. Their unique style pitch competition is the largest pitch competition globally for underrepresented women founders. They combine the premise of Shark Tank and Kickstarter by activating community participation and donating to support women-owned businesses directly. They have funded over 450 women of color, held over 50 BGV pitch programs across 15 cities, and served over 100,000 founders. Sorry, that's 10,000 founders. Soon, though. 100,000.
Oh, yeah.
Their pitch alumni are collectively generating over $10 million in revenue and supporting over 3,000 jobs. They currently have 4 signature programs, BGV Pitch, BGV Next Gen, Emerging Leaders Fellowship, and Pull Up and Pitch, and is now the largest ecosystem builder for underrepresented women founders on the East Coast. For more, visit blackgirlventures.org, or if you want to contact them directly, you can do so at contact@blackgirlventures.org. Again, that's blackgirlventures.org or contact@blackgirlventures.org. Check out their website if you want to know more. I know I went through that fast, but they are some awesome folks there.
Yeah, beautiful.
All right. So, Donald Trump's address to Congress. I thought that was a State of the Union address.
Yeah, it usually happens around the same time, but I guess he just decided that I don't want to do it. It's just going to be me talking. It's going to have monologue. I don't know what it was.
That's funny.
It is wild, to say the least. I wish there were something positive to take away from that.
Well,
yeah.
Let's go through it.
Let's go.
First thing, Al Green.
So
Al Green,
Congressman Al Green,
he was removed from the chamber for standing up and effectively calling out Donald Trump for his lies, his inconsistencies, his diminished capacity his non-existent capacity to be an effective leader, to protect the interest of the entire country instead of just protecting the interest of one facet of the country. Yeah. And I'm sure that all that was wound up in his protest because Q and I both have talked to Representative Green on the Black Information Network. We've interviewed him before, and he's like that. So him getting thrown out was, if I'm honest, the kind of energy I want to see.
I agree. Okay. I totally agree. No, I mean, at the end of the day, I may work within the party structure, and I'm very happy to have that ability, especially in these very specific and necessary times. But at the end of the day, like, we're all human beings, and people are scared. And when you see the emails and you take the calls and you have the dialogue with folks, people want that energetic, that emotion.
Yeah.
These are very emotional times. And so, one of the things I appreciate about Congressman Green is, again, as you had mentioned, his penchant for speaking up, for saying the right thing. And what I was talking about earlier was we need to not be afraid of rocking a boat that MAGA is currently sinking.
Yes.
And so if, we are removing the tenets of a representative democracy, we are destroying the foundations of administrations, and are putting our crosshair on things such as the Department of Education, and other facets of our society. We are aiming at completely dismantling Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. We are looking to affect folks in a way that is detrimental to their lives instead of truly representing them. And just seeing someone like Congressman Green speak in that capacity is inspiring, to say the very least.
Yeah. And especially when you look at the contrast of the rest of the Dems, because I did see that they were wearing shirts. And shout out to
absolutely, yeah.
Shout out to Congressman Frost, because that's our guy too, and he famously walked out during the speech, and he had Kings live here on the back of his shirt.
And with our Congresswoman Yasmin Ansari, who was also protesting, and I think that it does speak to folks having different approaches but working in concert.
Sure.
So
now I want to be clear that I like the approach that is disruptive.
Yeah,
I like that one more, but I understand that there's, everybody has their line, and if what I said before is that I'm grateful that the Democrats didn't do nothing.
Yeah.
Right, and so I'll take that. Also, Donald Trump, he bragged about pulling the nation out of the Paris Climate Accord and the World Health Organization. Now, when he did that, we were. Donald Trump is like a child that doesn't want to eat his vegetables, right? And then you give him some power and he doesn't have to eat his vegetables, and so he just throws all the vegetables on the floor, and just now he's eating candy. Him pulling out of the World Health Organization and him pulling out of the Paris, climate accord, was bad enough. But for him to brag about it at this address,
right?
I cannot, these are things that shouldn't really be partisan. These are things that no one should be bragging about. And whether or not it is in fact wasteful, the premise of both of those things is to ensure the longevity of our species, which you would imagine should come before our country. Right? Because if our species is doomed, if our planet is doomed, then what good is a country? It's going to be a rock full of rocks.
I would venture to say that I don't think anything that he's done, especially in this new administration of his, has been partisan. This has been centered around emboldening his power, protecting himself from legal accountability, and empowering those who keep him from seeing the justice that he should see. When you have 34 felony counts, and have operated as someone who victimizes and exploits individuals, and that's like the motif of your career. He has weaponized the most sacred branch in American government to protect himself from accountability, and that should scare people.
Well, so it's that, absolutely. But the other part of this, I think, is that I used to think that him opposing the World Health Organization, him opposing the Paris Climate Accord, him opposing the scientists that say that climate change is real, these sorts of things. I thought that he would simply oppose those things because they were things that Democrats espoused, right? So if they like it, then we hate it. And that's just the binary I believe to exist in his mind.
Part of that is in there.
But it ends up being the case that a lot of donors, and this is true for Democrats too. I don't want to act like they're blameless, but a lot of donors, a lot of people that, have a vested interest in, a fiscal interest in certain policies being the case, have basically influenced our politics. And I'm not the first person to say this, but just to have him doubling down on it like he's proud of it feels crazy, right? And it's the same with the mass shootings and the gun lobbyists. Like, everybody knows, okay, sensible gun laws make sense. I'm not a gun person. I just don't think that I was put here to end a life. It's just that's not my thing. But I do recognize that we live in a country where that's a part of it. You know what I mean? If you get freedom of speech, then you also get a bunch of crazy people that can go buy guns. Well, you have a right to have a gun, but if you can't pass certain tests, I think that, and for Donald Trump, because he's got the NRA there, it's an impossible, it's like a figure 4 leg lock. Yeah. And so when I look at these things, to me, it feels crazy to brag about them like he's doing something great for this nation, when we saw how the World Health Organization benefited. It benefited us to be a part of that when coronavirus came.
It doesn't care about any. That's
the wildest thing.
He is a textbook psychopath. He has no concern care about the well-being of others. As you can see, he doesn't care about family members. He will throw people under the bus, exploit individuals. Yeah. What do you think that he feels about you? So when he's talking about, using language and misinformation about, say, like removing taxes and things of that nature, they don't go out there and explain that, these are things that are tied to public education or social programs or the infrastructure of our country, or just the various things that we need to be able to live productive lives.
He's playing a popularity contest.
He's weaponizing populism and playing into, again, like the cult of personality politics that he has used to propel himself into office in order to get people on his side so he can pull the rug from underneath their feet and continue hoarding and consolidating power. There is nothing centered around representing anybody who voted for him. And there are, I would say, millions of people at this point who are starting to recognize that when you start purging jobs in administrations that, again, hold up the foundation of our government.
Yeah. Well, it's not just that. It goes deeper.
Oh, yeah.
So he was on stage touting his executive order banning transgender women in sports. Okay. Now, I looked into this, might have been 3-4 months ago. So, it's not as fresh in my memory as I would like, but I remember seeing something to the effect of, there were, I believe it was 4 people that were playing sports actively that were born biologically male, playing in a female league, in like a public school setting or something like that. Throughout the United States of America, there were 4 people. And there was something like 3 of them didn't even fully qualify because the sport wasn't like a male sport or a female sport, something like that, right? But 4 people that
it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen.
So we got 300.
I mean, it's something that I don't even really feel like comfortable having a conversation about, because it's just so rooted in phobia and hate for other individuals. Right. And when you're talking about folks who are who receive multiple forms of prejudice from family members, from community members, from their elected officials, from school boards, like, seeing this rhetoric out there is outright disgusting. Mm-hmm. and it should grab you emotionally, and you should feel compelled to speak out about it.
And I want to add to this that, where I was going with that is that, imagine getting on stage and bragging about an executive order that affected 4 people out of, call it 380 million. And getting an applause from the Republicans. Like, this is, first off, it's, as you mentioned, it's cruel. It doesn't fundamentally change anything. that doesn't fundamentally change anything about anyone's way of life. No one even knows who these 4 people are.
I don't even want to. It doesn't even really. It's at the end of the day, weaponizing people's phobia, which is rooted in the lack of engagement with other communities.
Thank you for saying this.
And we need to call it out. The thing that was so powerful about 2020, we have been talking about Black Lives Matter since about 2014, 2015.
It was 2012.
2012, some like early to mid 2010s and what have you. And what I had seen that was so different and so profoundly impactful when it comes to myself and other individuals, it's all Black Lives Matter. It's all of us or none of us. This is something that is rooted in the Rainbow Coalition of Fred Hampton.
Absolutely.
This is something that is classist in nature. We are together on this same ship. These people out there, they're Elons, these Trumps, they don't care about any of us. We need to recognize the beautiful uniqueness in each other and prop that up. And when someone uses that or weaponizes someone's identity, we need to lock arms and push against that as a community. There is no way forward but all of us across the finish line.
Let me add something here because I want to make it live for certain people. One of the places, so I grew up in church, right? My father was a minister. So I literally grew up in church. My grandfather was a minister, okay? Same with Q. Church folks often enough are people that try to push back against human beings whose sexuality is,
or even identity,
sexual identity lies outside of the traditional male-female binary, right? And when it's Black church folks in particular, it blows my mind because already Black people should be the last folks discriminating against somebody, right? Black folks should be the last folks using the Bible, weaponizing the Bible against other human beings, because Black folks know full well that the Bible has been weaponized against us to justify slavery, right? And Black folks know better than anybody, you don't speak for God. Right? Isn't that crazy? Isn't a crazy world to live in? Right? And so what you're saying, I want to make that live for those people who either are that or know people like that, because of course the point of the show is to empower our listeners so that they can take it into their individual communities around the country and make the changes around the water coolers and at the workplaces and in their dinner tables, etc. But I wanted to make sure that I let you know that I appreciate you saying that and breathe some.
All of us and none of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're from the school of Marsha P. Johnson. So. It's time to be bold.
Oh yeah, we're here. We're here. What else did he? Oh, so he continued his attacks on diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. That's something that, I for me, for Ramses, and I'd love for you to weigh in here too. I'm a really, really petty person, and I got a long memory.
Yeah.
And when I don't like somebody, I just don't like them.
Yes.
And so when it comes to, like today, I had to do some running around.
Yeah.
And I did more running around than I otherwise would have.
Right.
Because Walmart ain't on the menu.
Right.
Target ain't on the menu.
Right.
What is it? Safeway ain't on the menu.
Yeah. Oh.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to Kroger.
I have to look. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm going to Kroger. Fries.
Yeah.
Where we live but it's a Kroger brand. I'm going to. I don't buy on Amazon. I'm going to eBay. You know what I'm saying? Unless and if they want to get problematic, I'll go to Facebook Market. I will figure it out. That's how petty I am.
Yeah.
Like you won't get $1 from this household. My children will not spend money, right? Yeah. So for everybody that is, upset about Donald Trump doubling and tripling down on his anti-DEI rhetoric, and I'm speaking to people that know the history of it. It was intended to offset the fact that Black people were discriminated against.
Right.
And they've used it to say, well, this discriminates against white people.
The reverse racism argument.
Right. It's the reverse racism argument. When the truth of the matter is that, the overwhelming beneficiaries of DEI policies have been white women, the overwhelming amount of beneficiaries from it. But it's now coded language to mean Black. And so anti-DEI means
like DEI hire and things of that nature. I saw something online that said if you have to remove DEI tenants in order to find yourself in office, maybe you are the diversity hire.
So yeah, that's but yeah, your thoughts here.
in terms of like weaponizing the idea of inclusivity.
Yeah.
Again, if you have to close the door on well-qualified individuals, it shows that you might not be the well-qualified individual.
There it is, man.
I look at it, I can even look at myself in this, because I did say that I work in party politics. Like, I'm a college dropout. I've been an artist for the majority of my adult life. And here I am in this space. And it damn sure isn't because I was just some sort of, let's push him through the door and say we met a quota. No, I've brought considerable victories in the space in which I operate in.
Value, yeah.
Whether it not even just within activist space, but in actual like politics and policy. Mm-hmm. I am great at my job, mm-hmm. and it has nothing to do with me being pushed through because of my identity. And if in that case, like, we need to champion how great we are in the roles that we have. Our Black women, they are disproportionately targeted. The pay disparity is egregiously low. And yet, we continue to show up and knock it out the park. It's not because it's a quota met. It's because what is it? Men in Black, best of the best, sir, with honors. So championing ourselves and the way in which we show up is one powerful way to uplift our impact in the various industries in which we operate in.
Sure. And I appreciate you saying that. And, he went on, he was saying, he was praising the police, of course. He was talking about there being a bit of an adjustment period relative to his tariffs and so forth.
Right.
And on, how he is. He gets up there and he talks. Well, we're here to remind you that you're not crazy if you took issue with his address and really with the state of things, because with all this stuff happening, you might feel like you're being left behind. You might feel like you missed something. No, you're not crazy. This is not normal. And we are going to do our best to make sure that you know that and you don't feel alone.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, I would like to thank you very much for your time today, Roqy, aka Jacob Raiford, the hip hop activist and community organizer. Do me a favor one more time, drop your social media.
Yeah, again, thank you for having me on here. Roqy Tyraid, ROQYTYRAID, and of course Jacob Raiford, MRJACOB RAIFORD. Let's continue to have that dialogue. If you need me for any sort of work related to this, just reach out. All of us and none of us. Really.
I love that. And of course, like I said, Q Ward is going to be back on the show next week. And if you have any questions, any topics you want us to cover, you can do so at civiccipher.com. You can also make a donation. The show grows with your support. You can also download this show in its entirety and any previous episode as well. You can follow me on all social media at Ramses Jah. You can follow Q at I am Q Ward on all social media as well. And until next week, y'all, peace.